Hello everybody, good evening, welcome. It's the Mentor Show. Welcome. The King of Kings. Welcome, Lux Ali, good evening. Welcome to the Mentor Show. Welcome. Tell us where you are joining us from. How has been your day? Lux Alim, how has been your day? Almighty warrior, I call you. Tell me where you are joining us from, Lux. Worship you more than enough for me. It's my joy to worship you. Lux, where are you joining us from? The King of Kings. Your love has set me free. Now I am free indeed. I worship you, the love of my life. You are the air I breathe. You are the sun shining. Russia, okay. From Russia, okay. Yeah. How are you doing today? You are the Odogu, the mighty warrior. I call you Ogawa. Miracles happen when I worship you. More than enough for me. It's my joy to work. So, Lux, what do you do in Russia? What do you do? Well, are you a student? Are you... Okay, you just completed your master's program. Master's in what? Master's in what? In what field did you do your master's program? It's my joy to worship you. So, like you have seen tonight, we are having it's an open discussion tonight in conversation about Africa. You know, on this show, we are the Africa Coaching and Mentorship Initiative, and our passion and our dream, international sociology. Interesting. All the honor, all the praise, it belongs to you. Take it all, Father, take it all. Yeah. Oh, hallelujah. Oh, you are from Sierra Leone. Interesting. Wow. So, look, what's the next thing for you? What are you going to be doing now after this master's? When you finish international sociology, I'm actually, how I wish that, can I bring you, would you like to come online before I do my session tonight? If we can have a session with you, I'm interested to know why you choose, before we go to the things that I have to discuss tonight. We are discussing about Africa tonight, particularly that has to do with child labor, which is prevalent in Sierra Leone, in Côte d'Ivoire, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Benin Republic. So, would you like to come online? Let me see I can spare. I've sent you an invite. If you like to come online, and today is 22nd. I've sent you an invite. If you would like to come online and tell us, I'm interested, I'm curious to know, why are you studying international sociology, and how does international sociology add up in your own dreams and aspirations and discovery of purpose? Because Lux, I would like to ask, have you discovered why you were born? Do you know that you were born for a purpose? If you are still there, if you like to come online, great. If not, I will just go ahead to my show, what I plan to be discussing tonight as we dive into this case of Africa. It's like some people will say, we leave everything to God in Africa, But I almost said, God help us. Well, God will help us. We will pray. It will change our hearts. It will change It will change our heart. It will change our demeanor, and that he would, So we do pray that we would have such a change of heart. So welcome everybody to the Mentor Show. On the Mentor Show, you know how it is. We inspire you. On this show, we help you reinvent yourself. We help you break down and break away from all limiting beliefs, and also give you ideas and tips on how you can make impact. Our desire is that you make impact. My desire is that you make impact. And I know God's desire is that you make impact, because you were born for a purpose. You were born for a reason. And because you are born for a reason and for a purpose, it's important that you discover why you were born and begin to walk in that reality, as it were, of why you were born. And I think I might sound, for those of you who have joining us live or watching the replay of it, I might be sounding like a broken record, but see, that is the reason why we are here. We come in here every Tuesday, we show up here every week, every Friday, just to remind you that you are born for a purpose, and that you must discover why you were born, and that you must begin to act, must begin to walk in line with why you were born. That is why we are here. That is why we are here online, to show to you, to help you come to that realization. So tonight, for those of you who follow me, you would have seen about for some days, let's say days, I've been very concerned about Africa, particularly child labor in Africa. Child labor. And tonight, we want to spend time to rub minds together, want to spend time to look at it critically, want to spend time to look at what could be the solution out of this child labor, which is prevalent. Well, in my mind, I might think that there's a word, but I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I want to present the facts to you first and foremost about this issue of child labor in Africa and why we need to do something about it. Because if we don't do something about it, Africa cannot go to the next level. Africa cannot develop. Africa cannot experience a breakthrough, if you like to use that word or that terminology. Because you know fully well that if you look at the population of Africa, if you want to use the live data of the population of Africa, if you go to worldometers.info, it tells us that Africa is 1 billion 373,228,997 or 98. Now it has even, because this is live data, it's counting live data. And it's on the rise from 1960, when it was about 250 million. And now we have reached 1.3 billion. Excuse me. And now we have reached 1.3 billion people on the continent of Africa. So, out of this 1.3 billion, if you look at the demography, of Africa, out of these 1.3 billion people that lives on the continent of Africa, you will see that excuse me. Let me use this one. I'm trying to well, I'm trying to get a particular data which I've tried before, I couldn't get. But maybe Okay, you were in a train. Anekwe Chika or Anekwe Chika. Good evening. Welcome to the Mentors Show. Okay, Lux, no problem. I was trying to bring you online to ask some questions before I went into. Maybe if you are around as I'm rounding up, I might bring you up to ask some questions in line with what you are studying and to know, okay, what are the next things? Why you are studying international sociology, and what will you use the certificate to do, or the knowledge you have gained? What value would that knowledge bring? Bring to Africa? That's where I'm going. What would that knowledge bring to Africa? That's the key point where I'm going. That's where I'm going. What would that knowledge bring to the continent of Africa? Okay. So does that make sense? Yeah, well, if you're around, hopefully, because I've already started, it is estimated it is estimated that over 400 million children are living. Now, these are children. Over 400 million children out of the 1.3 billion. 400 million are living currently on the continent of Africa. And that number is rising because people are still getting married. We're not saying they should not get married. People are still having children and everything. So that number of 400 million children living on the continent of Africa is still on the rise. So the United Nations estimate that Africa's population will double to 2.4 billion by 2050. So by 2050, we are looking at 2.4 billion people on the continent of Africa. 40% of all the children under the age of 5, they would live in the middle of, in Africa, in the middle of 21st century. So imagine 40% of children living on Earth, they would be living on the continent of Africa. Now that's huge, isn't it? If 40% of children. And we know fully well quite a lot of things that affect children in Africa. There is numerous issues of struggling, children struggling because of a lot of things. So now, for example, the proportion of 15s, under 15, those who are under the age of 15, who we still classify as children, 41% of them, they live in places like Uganda, Angola, Mali, Niger Republic, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Half of all these nations put together are less than 15 years old. Now, it might seem as if I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but I'm just laying the background to look at what we are looking at to that, to background to what we're looking at to that, about Why is there still child labor in Africa? And today we are looking at in conversation about Africa. Our conversation today is about Africa. The issue of child labor. Now, if you look at the post, my post on about let me get that the number of children that are working. Let me just go by starting with this. Now, I know that child labor is not only prevalent to Africa. Child labor is a global phenomenon. I'm aware of that. And at least as of 2012, 168 million children were involved from the ages of 5 years to 17 were involved in child labor. That's in 2012. That's globally now. And currently, there are 30 million children, people held in slavery, and are estimated and out of these 30 million people, 26% of them are children. So, part of the challenges that leads to this problem we're looking at tonight, is a web, quite a complex web of series of challenges. But I want to specifically focus tonight. I want to specifically focus on Africa. Yeah, because that's my own. That's, as it were, where we are focusing on. So, according to the International Labour Organization, child labor is still prevalent on the continent of Africa. And what is child labor? What is the definition of child labor? What is the definition of child labor? The definition of child labor is that children being involved in some kind of work that deprive these children of their childhood. They are involved in the kind of work that deprives them of their childhood. Not only their childhood, it deprives them of their education. They're not able to go to school. It deprives them of their education. It deprives them of their childhood. They're not able to go to school. And because they are children, when a child grows up without childhood, they don't have anything to remember as growing up. So when I was small, this is how I used to grow up. Children want to play. I remember when we were small, you play with car tires, you roll it on the street. I remember when we were small, we carried tin of milk. Tin, when I say tins like this kind of tins, but for that of pig milk, you arrange it and you play which you take one, you throw it to win, and if you arrange it in a pyramid and you throw to, those are childhood or experiences. But when children are involved in child labor, they are cut off from those kind of experiences. Because they are involved in a work that cut them away from their childhood. Again, this child labor, after cutting the children away from their childhood, also their potential and their dignity is taken away from them. The work they get involved in deprives them of their potential, deprives them of their dignity. And not only that, the work they are involved in is harmful to their physical and mental development. This job they are involved in is harmful to their physical and mental development. So we can say this kind of work is the work that is mentally, physically, socially, or morally dangerous and harmful to children, and or it interferes with their schooling by depriving them the opportunity to attend school, obliging them to leave school prematurely, or requiring them to attempt to combine school attendance with excessively long and heavy work. So you could now imagine where we are in Africa. Because you remember on this show, on the Mentor show, one of our guests has told us that, I think our second but last guest, if I'm correct, Mr. Woniko, told us that education is the route out of poverty. Education is the route out of poverty. So if a child is supposed to go to school and get education, and is not able to go to school and get education, and is now had to be involved in child labor, working as an adult to become a breadwinner, that already tells you the future of that child. That tells you that child is already locked into poverty. That tells you that that child, if there's no divine intervention, will not amount to anything. That tells you that the generation of that child would also continue in that line of poverty. Because education, appropriate and correct education, is what brings people out of poverty. And that's the reason, that is why child labor is bad. Because the child is deprived of his education, is not able to go to school to get education that will make him to be economically viable, to be able to look for job or create job. More than that, the child goes through a series of mental deprivation, physical deprivation, social deprivation, moral dangerous deprivation. It's a pitiable situation. It is a pitiable situation. Although when we say child labor, so don't get it wrong. There's a caveat to this. There's some kind of work that could be, a child could assist at home, household chores, assist the parents to do. Or if the parents have any particular business and the child is assisting the parents in a way, not that it's predominantly taking over the life of the child. The child only does support the parent when he or she comes back from school. That is accepted because the child is still going to school. But when we talk of child labor, quite a lot of, if you go to my timeline, I think I can even do that here. Welcome, Swam. I think I can show that here. Yeah, that's it. Now, when you look at that graphic over there, Swam, how has been your day? If you look at that graphic over there, is what we're talking about. these children, as you're looking in that graphic, I'm not too sure that these children will have opportunity to go to school. And that's why we're saying this is child labor. Any work that a child between the age of 5 and 17 would do that would hamper them from going to school to get education, that would rip them of their potential, their dignity, that is harmful, physical harm, harming their physical growth and mental development, it is child labor. And don't forget, when we say child labor, it is not as if these children are compensated, they are remunerated. Because, when things like that happen, the parent will say the money or the proceed from whatever work the child has done is what they have used to take care of the child. Is what they've used to take care of the child. Oh, so child labor is. So let's quickly go for. Let me just quickly look at some basic facts about child labor in Africa. And Lux, Alim or Suam, let me get you involved. What do you think is the cause of this child labor? What do you think is the cause of child labor? Even though I've said something in line with that earlier. What do you think is the cause of this child labor? And how can we solve it? Before I begin to give you facts, let me engage you. What do you think could be the problem? Well, I'll just go for it because of our time. So, eradicating child labor, 1 in 5 children is employed against their will. In quarries where they are working, in quarries, in farms like the one you are seeing in the graphic, in the mines. However, efforts to eradicate child labor have been valiant in areas such as building schools, which I told you solution is education. If there's availability of school and these children are made to go to school, also supporting agricultural cooperatives and advising farmers on better production method and paying farmers more for production, which have been mentioned. Those are the issues that have been mentioned when we do mapping Africa's resources, looking at nation by nation, isn't it? Because if you look at that graphic over there, the International Labour Organization estimates that 72.1 million African children are in child labor. 72.1 million children are in child labor. And 31.5 million of them are in hazardous work. And I've read to you what is hazardous work. Hard labor that is affecting the physical, affecting the mental, affecting the social, affecting the psychological growth of these children, affecting them all through and through. So, if I could ask you what will be the one word that you think is responsible for all this? We could say it one word. Poverty. Poverty is the one word. The parents are poor. So the parents are involved in working in the quarries, working in the mines, working on the farms. And because of that, you remember that historically in the model of business operations and farming operations in Africa has been that parents give back to the number of children that become laborers for them, that become labor. The number of children they have is the number of hands they have to work on the farm. And now those parents who are still in farming should actually transition. I know I've been saying this on our mentors, on our mapping natural resources of Africa, about the need for mechanization, but also that we need for the parent to be able to have money to buy those mechanized agricultural equipment to be able to do their agriculture in a modern way and not in this subsistence of using cutlass and hoe. So this is the challenge, and that's the reason why we must find a way of solving this problem. The sub-Saharan Africa employ 59 million children between the ages of 5 and 17. But we've just said it's 72 actually. The current data, 72.1%. Even some were proposing the end date of child labor. Until you tackle poverty, child labor will not end. Some are proposing that 2025 child labor is not going to be possible. For example, Uganda, Tanzania, and Togo have made progress by training 25 child ambassadors. What will I do? How can you, if you train child ambassadors when the parents are in poverty, what can child ambassadors do? Their children. It's empowering the parents. It's for the parents to be economically viable. Whatever business they are involved in, to be economically viable, that they will have surplus without stressing themselves, and they can be able to send these children to school. That's the kind of point I think we should first be looking at. Like you said, 31.4 million are in hazardous work, which includes forced labor. They are forced to work, which includes prostitution. Imagine prostituting children and working in the mines. Working in the mines is a serious kind of wow. Like I mentioned earlier, at about 168 million children globally, they work in the farm labor, 98 million in agriculture, and 12 million in manufacturing. The largest commodities that child labor produces are gold, tobacco, banana, sugarcane, cotton, rubber, and cocoa. So we do know that the cocoa industry is the one that is always in the news. Of course, even in the US of recent, Nestle and what's the name of the other company? And that's what got me thinking last week when I was watching this. Nestle went to the Supreme Court of the US, and the Supreme Court says they are not involved in child labor. Can you imagine that? The cocoa industry in 2015, the US Labor Department reported that over 2 million children worked on cocoa farms in West Africa, as in 2015. So imagine then and now. And because of the impact of COVID, a lot of challenges have happened to the farms, to the employability, to the income. So it means the number would have skyrocketed if we get the current data. Chocolate companies like Mars, SA, and Nestle have signed a deal to end the use of child labor in their chocolate production. But see, signing of a deal does not necessarily remove, because until the person, until the supply chain is taken care of, the people at the lower end of the supply chain is taken care of, and they are properly compensated, there's no way in which you can say you are signing a deal to stop children, because those parents need more hands and they will bring the children to work. And those who are not even their children, some parents would put their children out to go and fend and work and bring money. So we know that Fair Trade America offered farmers more money for certified cocoa, that is cocoa that farmers produce without child labor, to prevent child labor and alleviate poverty. Well, that's a good step, but more is not enough when 72.1% are still in Africa. The Akin India Protocol, which is another fair trade way, according to Fair Trade and World Bank, farmers in Africa receive 1,900, and that amount is well below the poverty line for a typical family. Well, you see, whatever it is claimed that they give to these people is just a claim, in my own view. It will not stop until the behavior, because the behavior of the parents, when something is done to change their mindset, you can give them 5 million. That's another challenge. There's to mindset, to change the mindset, and to know that these children are supposed to be in the school, these children are supposed to be educated for them to break the poverty cycle, or else the cycle of poverty will continue. Countries experiencing crisis have the highest number of child labor. So when you have crisis, IDPs, those camps where you keep people, countries that have crisis, displaced persons, like now you have in Tigray in Ethiopia and some other parts of Africa, like you have even in Nigeria, for some of those people who have been impacted, their communities have been run out by Boko Haram, ISIS and co, in which they have run away. When you have this kind of crisis, those who suffer more are children. Those kind of children are exposed. They don't have, they are taken away from education. There will be lack of social services. They are taken away. They experience poverty. They experience sexual abuse. They experience lack of education. They experience all kind of vices. Trauma. Those children are also could be recruited by those who are the wicked people to turn those children to child labor. I remember, is it Sierra Leone? Their civil war, children were turned into soldiers. Children were turned out to shoot and were asked to go and shoot. You know, it's a painful thing. It's a painful thing. So the question and why I'm bringing this to you today is, if you're watching this live or you are watching a replay, why were you born? Could part of why you were born to solve this problem of child labor, could be reason why you were born is to help terminate this child labor, to work ensure that this child labor ends, even if it doesn't end in the whole of Africa, in your own country, that child labor ceases. Campaigning, advocacy, changing government policy, engaging stakeholders to ensure that children's childhood are not taken away from them and they're not exposed to this kind of serious hard labor. Again, it's stated here that, you know, in 2018 survey Tulane University researcher found that people who were not the children parents brought at least 16,000 children. So, like I said, I mentioned that earlier. Some people who go and bring other people's children to come and work for them. 16,000 children to West African farms in 2018. Again, report also stated that 40% of Burkina Faso children are without proper birth records. And for that reason, no one can be able to identify them. Now, remember we have looked at Burkina Faso as one of the, we have mapped Burkina Faso. So we could see the problem of, another problem in Burkina Faso there. Children not appropriately accounted for. Their births are not properly registered in this modern age. So you see the challenges there, but also, like I keep saying, it's not all gloom and doom. It's to say these are opportunities. And you were born, I was born to solve all these problems. So, there's also the challenge of child labor under 5 years old. Child laborers under the age of 5 have also grown in number, and they also face hazardous work condition as well. They might spend the day doing hard manual labor such as swinging machetes, carrying heavy loads, and spraying pesticides, for example. Children under 5. Wow, can't imagine my daughter, who is now 10, being exposed to such kind of tedious, rigorous work from morning till night. They're not even properly fed. There's no break, there's no closing time, except when light falls from morning till night. Wow. So the issue of policies. So for you, Swam, and I don't know, Lux Alim, who is working in the aspect of international sociology, could you begin to use your, I know, Swam, you are a lawyer, can you begin to look at engaging government, bringing about policy to your state, to the federal government of Nigeria, across Africa, to begin to find a way of, now they've done AFTA, that is the Africa Joint Agreement, Free Trade Zone in Africa, to bring policy into that agreement that whatever goods that are going to be transferred and be sold must not include child labor. So you see that this issue of child labor is heartbreaking. Is heartbreaking. And the worst forms of child labor is children being enslaved, separated from their families. They are exposed to serious hazards and illnesses, and they are left to fend for themselves. They didn't bring themselves to this world. They are left to fend for themselves on the streets of large cities at a very tender age. Go to all the big cities in Africa. Now, we've looked at those who are in the villages, who are on the farms. But go to all the large cities, so you have the issue of another find of children just being left on their own at a very tender age to fend for themselves. So we know that the worst forms of child labor as defined by Article 3 of the ILO Convention number 182 includes all forms of slavery or practice similar to slavery, such as the sale. Some people are selling, and I told you when we look at Benin Republic, the case that in Benin Republic they were giving out their children, selling their children for $15 to be able to make money. It's part of is child labor, because those children are being sold to go and become slaves, to go and begin to work for some elite people. Sale and trafficking of children, debt bondage, and serfdom. Sam Sachs, Fanny, Tani, good evening. Welcome to the Mentors Show. We are looking at the issue of child labor. So, Sam Sachs, have you found the reason why you were born? Could it be that you were also born to help tackle a problem? And could you use your experience, if you are a lawyer, for example, or you are you are knowledgeable in drafting policies, influencing government, or you know people that you can influence them to make policies that will tackle child labor in the continent of Africa, in whatever country you are from. Serfdom and forced or compulsory labor, including forced or compulsory recruitment of children for use in armed conflict, like I mentioned earlier, using children to go and become soldiers, like it happened in Sierra Leone when they had their war, and other nations, even among Boko Haram, using children to go and become suicide bombers. The use, procuring, or offering of a child for prostitution, God have mercy, or for the production of pornography. Oh, God have mercy. Or for pornographic performances. God have mercy. This kind of wickedness. Another thing, according to that Article 3 of ILO Convention number 182, is the use, procuring of, or offering of a child for illicit activities, in particular for the production and trafficking of drugs as defined in the relevant international treaties, or to use them to work by nature or for circumstances in which it's carried out is likely to harm the child, their health, their safety, or harm their morals, expose them into bad morals that affect their growth and development. Like I mentioned earlier, hazardous labor are those kind of work that affect the child. It will harm their health, their safety, and their morals. According to the same, to Article 3 of ILO Recommendation number 190, hazardous labor or child labor are those ones that expose the child to physical, psychological, or sexual abuse, or make the child to work underground, underwater, at dangerous heights, or in confined spaces, or work with dangerous machinery, equipment and tools which involve the manual handling of or transport of heavy loads, or making the child to work in unhealthy environment which may, for example, expose the child to hazardous substances, chemicals, agents or processes, or to temperatures, or to noise levels that will impact their hearing, or vibrations damaging of their health, or make the child to work under particularly difficult conditions such as work for long hours, like I mentioned earlier, or make them to work during the night, or make the child to work in an uneasily confined to the premises of the employer, like you're a slave, lack of freedom. We pray and we desire that if you are watching this or you come across this recording tonight, this session, if you are live or watching it remotely when you watch it, please try and discover why you were born, and try and see, perhaps part of your calling, part of why you were born, is to put an end to child labor in your country, in your community, on the continent of Africa. That there should not be any child that should be going through child labor. And we have said poverty. So it means it go back to this, we come full circle. Like I said initially, poverty is the bigger umbrella that is causing all this kind of a situation. Poverty. And until people get broken from poverty, and education, like I told you, one of my guests on this show mentioned, on the Mentor show mentioned, poverty is the solution to poverty is education. And until these children are educated, how will they be free from the clutch of poverty, from the cycle of generational poverty? So I thank you very much for those who have been with me tonight. Nweke, Luxiam, Swam, and Sammy Sachs. There is work to be done. There is work to be done. And it's important that we do something about it. So it's important that something must be done about this. So thank you very much. Luz Alim, are you still there? Let me see if you are still there. I promise, you're not available. Then I'm going to bring you back and ask you some questions, particularly about the course you are doing, and see why you are studying the course you are studying, and how will that help? How would that help your country? How would that help your country of Sierra Leone to tackle this kind of a problem that we are seeing? Poverty, poverty is just poverty is just everywhere. All right, it's not all gloom and doom. It is that you are the solution to these problems. I'll see you again on Friday, God willing, when we bring you on the, don't forget, on the Mentor show, we bring you guests who are changing lives, transforming the world. And we have these sessions in which we bring out these sessions to talk about them for you as ideas, for you to locate and know why you were born, and see what you, and put this as visually before you to consider being the solution, because you were born to solve a problem. That's why we are doing this. I'll see you again on Friday, God willing. Thank you for your time. Bye.
That's what I really love about Vimeo. They're just contributors to me, creatives.
You are